Christian, how many gods died on the cross? One God in one person, the Son. How many gods did not die? Zero gods. There is only one God. Two persons of the Godhead did not die. So you're equivocating between God and person? No. God names the essence. Person names the who, which subsists in that essence. The persons are not distinct or separate gods. There is only one God in essence. Then how many gods did not die when you refer to the person? That question misframes the categories. The persons are not counted as separate gods. One God remains undivided in essence. But if one person died and two didn't, and each person are God, then how many gods are there? You're confusing persons with essence. The Father, Son, and Spirit remain distinct, but there is only one God. When you say one God, are you picking out the essence or the person? Essence, always. That's what God means. So then you're saying that the divine nature died? No. Christ died according to the human nature in the person of the Word and Son. The divine nature cannot die, obviously. Indwelling does not mean co-suffering, though. And I know what you're probably saying, that if the divine nature cannot die, then how can God die? It's that the divine nature cannot be separated from itself. The divine nature can be separated from the human nature, but it cannot be separated from itself. When the divine nature is separated from the human nature, that's when death occurs. For the divine nature in the experience of the human nature. Probably a perfect, almost perfect representation of this is what the Apostle Paul says in Galatians 2:20 when he says, I am crucified with Christ. In other words, I am dead with Christ. Now, how could he be dead with Christ still writing to the Galatians? He even says, nevertheless I live. You see, the Muslim has the same problem. As I was speaking to Muslims recently, and they said that they believe that all souls, even mine, were in the back of Adam when he was created. And so in some kind of holding room until we're put into a body. And even when we die, that body dies, but we go on living. So we as a body are not the same with that body, but we personally can die, though we aren't essentially dying. The one God does not, similarly, the one God does not cease to exist. But it's always interesting when Muslims want to bring up something of an issue with the understanding that Christians have of the one true God, which we would say is the one true God of all of us, the one that created reality, in which we have all these problems. We have all these logical problems that we're trying to wrap our minds around. And when they have the same problems but act like they don't, it's like the pot calling the kettle black, right? So from the perspective of the white teacup could say both of them are black. The pot is black, the kettle is black. But for the pot to call the kettle black, it's like, yeah, you are too. So, I mean, I don't understand what your point is. So we're both wrong. We need to both abandon what we believe as the truth, right? No. So if you're making this a problem when it's not a problem, then stop making it a problem. For instance, Allah's speech, as the Muslim would say, is eternal, correct? The words that come out of Allah's mouth, are they not eternal? If they are eternal, does the Quran actually represent his words? This words in supposedly the speech of Allah is fully present in letters, in sounds, and in books. So Islam then, in a sense, already admits that the infinite can be fully present in a finite form without ceasing to be infinite. How do you explain that? Especially if you want to say, well, you put all water into a cup? That's not possible. You can't put the infinite into the finite. And yet, Allah's speech, which is supposed to be infinite, is put into a finite container. The incarnation, then, is no more impossible than Allah's speech being able to be contained in the Quran. God became flesh personally, not by division or annihilation of his divine nature, one essence, but in distinct persons. So distinction is not division. One God died in the one person of the Lord Jesus Christ. All persons remain fully God. It's the same logic for the speech of Allah in the Quran. Maybe not the same ontology, but the same logic. So one thing that we can do to basically push back on the Muslim or even any one Unitarian that may use the type of argumentation and logic that the Muslim uses concerning this idea of how many gods died on the cross and misunderstanding the triune nature of God is to go to something like time and show that while we believe that our God, and we may say we agree with the Muslim that our God created time, he created the concept of time. If we were to apply the same logic to things like this that have a sort of triune nature in and of themselves, we can see how it really does break down. So let's demonstrate that for a second. Mr. Muslim, how many times exist? One time. So does time have real distinctions? Yes, past, present, and future. Are those distinctions real or are they imaginary? Real. Is the past still happening right now? No. So the past has passed away, correct? Yes. Did time cease to exist when the past passed away? No. Why not? Because the present and the future still remain. So one aspect of time has passed, two aspects remain, yet time itself is still one? Yes, it's still one. So distinctions can differ in action without multiplying the thing itself. Is that what you're saying? Yes, I guess I'm forced to admit that distinctions can differ in action without multiplying the thing itself. What if they respond this way? Yes, I guess the past doesn't exist anymore. Then history doesn't exist? No. Was Muhammad born in the past? Yes. Did the Quran come down in the past? Yes. Or are those not real events anymore? No, they're real events, so I guess the past does exist. Or let's say they say this. The past exists, but it's only conceptually. So let me get this straight. Real distinctions can exist without being separately instantiated. I don't understand the question. Okay, so something can really be distinct without being a separate being then, correct? I guess it can be really distinct without being a separate being. So, thank you. I'll just conclude that if time can be one, while its distinctions differ in relation and action, why can't God be one, while his persons differ in relation and action? But time is created. Okay, created or uncreated does not change the logic. We're talking about coherence. We're not talking about ontology. If your objection were logical, then it would refute time itself. I'm not saying God is time, and I'm showing that your rule is false. You're basically saying that real distinction requires separate beings or separate gods. Time actually refutes or disproves that rule every second. If you deny real distinctions, you deny time. If you accept real distinctions within unity, then you lose your objection to the Trinity.